I've got a Thomas Jefferson quote for you also and stuff, just so you learn some stuff. But what you got to understand is, I'm here for you. For all you grandparents, I had a great granny. We called her Nana and stuff. Sharp as a tack. She was a nurse and stuff during the wars. Great gal. And hopefully I wake up you grandparents, because it may take the grandparents waking up their children and saying, I saw this guy on my television, and he told me things were wrong, and he told me we may have criminals in our government, and they may be doing things that they did in Germany in the 30s, and that I should be concerned, maybe even to the point of fright. And I don't want to build fear for the sake of building fear, but I do understand that people move quicker when there's a reason to move. Because when people are comfortable, they tend not to move at all. So, what can I tell you this evening? I can tell you that, yes, you're continually lied to by that manipulated mainstream media, my MMM, and that unless you do something, unless you educate your neighbor, unless you prepare yourself. And what would I tell you to prepare for? Here we are. It's 2008. I'm on your television. Hopefully you're watching. And I'm here telling you, get ready for hyperinflation like they had in Germany during the Weimar Republic. Remember, Germany had the most, what? Doctors per capita, most engineers per capita, most, they had an extremely educated populace. And they voted Hitler. When people are hungry, they do just about anything. You're an extremely educated group of people, okay? But maybe you're not keeping your eye on the ball. That's all I can put it off to, okay? But when people get hungry, they do silly things. So I'm telling you viewers out there, that's right, here's my little crash show thing for you. We covered the First Amendment where I said, hey, this First Amendment's important. Matter of fact, they all are. Read them, understand them, and stand up for them next time you're at the airport or wherever you are. But more importantly is, you're being ripped off, you're being lied to, you're being set up for the slaughter, just like they shear the fur off of sheep. You're going down the chute. And many of you are asking for it, thinking that this bailout rescue plan, okay, I hate to tell you, they're lying to you like they lied you into wars. They're lying to you like they lied to you about 9/11. They're lying to you, okay, about remember the secret prisons? They're lying to you. Remember the torture? They're lying to you. Remember wiretapping your phones? They're lying to you, telling you need your papers? They're lying to you. You know, October 1st started martial law in the States. Why don't you go look up the Army Times? That's right, you're on the web. Army Times. Go look at the article that says the 3rd Armored Division is what? They're going to be patrolling the U.S.? Hello? I wish I was lying. But why don't you go read the Army Times article? Don't believe me. Believe them. What can I do to motivate you? You viewer, you watcher, you listener, do you have enough interest? Do you even care about that, what happens after you leave? You know what you leave behind, your legacy? Do you want a legacy of tyranny? Because you're doing nothing, and basically, fat, lazy people doing nothing end up with tyranny, huh? So, I want to get you prepared. Okay, here I am. It's 2008. We're right in October of 2008, and I'm saying, get some food. Sounds funny. Get some food. Matter of fact, I recommend, get enough food so that when food gets tight, because throughout history, usually the financial problem comes first, then comes a food problem. And you've probably already heard about food problems, You understand that China stopped exporting rice because they didn't have enough. You understand that India stopped exporting rice because they didn't have enough. You understand because you go shopping what's happened to the price of rice, let alone the price of corn. Remember the ethanol joke? Who brought you that? Gosh, these same liars. Yeah, and they're selling you the global warming thing. Yeah, I hope you're ready for this one world government, because as you sit on your derrieres in Sharon, okay, and you buy that global warming stuff, hey, I'd like someone to come on the show. You out there in the audience, get off your, come down and, let's do a show together, and you can tell me what percentage of the atmosphere that I'm breathing, tell me what percentage of it is carbon dioxide. Because you all worry about carbon dioxide, don't you? Yeah. Why don't you type this into Google, carbon dioxide credits, The bankers have you believing that a life-giving gas is bad. And you bought it because a bunch of scientists who get paid by them, and once again, if you could create all the money from nothing, is there a scientist you couldn't buy? I got to ask you, is there a politician you couldn't buy? Matter of fact, why don't you go look up online, who's behind McCain and Obama money-wise? Where'd the cash come from? How come they get all their, how come they get all their money from Goldman Sachs? Yeah. And is it Goldman Sachs and is it JP Morgan that's getting bailed and they're the ones winning after all this thing? You know, once again, your Kerrys and your Kennedys, because Democrats are for little guys, they sold you the bankruptcy laws and changed them so you can't go bankrupt. But your big financial institutions, they can go bankrupt and they can sucker you into paying for it. Man, I feel like saying you're a sucker. Me, I'm just a pissed off sucker, and I'm just not a happy sucker. I understand what's going on, and I try to tell you, and you probably don't care. You know why? Because once again, maybe it's, you get the big widescreen TV, and you're going to watch a high-def movie tonight, you know? And forget about all this stuff. And not care that, geez, what's happened to the price of everything? Housing, education, health care and stuff. And more people get sick and have cancer, yet you're willing to put poisons in your water, you Sharonites. How come you guys aren't calling the water department right now going, gee, why do we put toxic substances in our drinking water? And why, if that substance has been linked to cancer, if that substance has been linked to, you know, autism and stuff, do we keep on putting it in? You know? But you're a Sharonite. You don't care. You're too busy. I mentioned this on the last show, and I want you to consider it. I should end every show with it. Besides looking for real men who are willing to do something, contact me, find me. You can see, you can hit me on the MySpace that I put on after the show. Copy that down. But what are you Sharonites? What are you going to say to your children? What are you going to say to your grandchildren? What's your excuse? I'd like you to come on the show. Say it now. You'll feel like a free man later because you won't have to tell them your excuse. We'll have it recorded. And they can play it back. And when they ask you, Dad, how come this was the greatest nation, most productive nation, most prosperous nation, most freest nation? And when it was being eroded away, Dad, why did you do nothing? What did you do? Where were you then? Because years from now, when you look into their sad eyes, as they what? As a house cost them $1 million in Sharon, $2 million? Get ready for hyperinflation like you haven't seen. When all this money gets put into the, think of it this way, they created more money last week than was our budget for the federal government in 1980. Did you get that in 1 week? That's the exponential growth of money. And you remember fractional reserve banking on the other shows. I don't want to get too far off on it, but I want you to come up with that excuse and maybe send them in to me so I can read them on air. Hey, I talked to one Sharonite and they said the reason they did nothing is they were too busy. The reason they did nothing, they didn't fight for other people's rights and they didn't fight for their own rights and they didn't fight for their kids' rights is because there was a football game on. The reason they didn't do anything is because it can't be that way. They live in Egypt. That's denial, right? It can't be that way, you know? What's your excuse? What is it? I want to know. Let me know excuses for doing nothing. What, are you just that trusting? We've taught you to, you know, blindly trust. Everything is going to be okay because the guys who stole from you are the one who came up with the rescue plan. How do you do it? How do you know, what do you go to bed at night thinking, you know, it's okay because it's not affecting me? You know? You bomb sovereign nations that don't attack you, but that's okay. You know? You allow your government to torture people, but that's okay. To wiretap people, but that's okay. Out in California, you know, they just ruled against homeschooling. Well, I guess parents, they don't know what's best for their children. The government does. Okay? Have you guys had enough of this big government game? Do you ever talk to your elders, I mean the really old people, and say, what was life like? What was life like when we had freedom? When people liked policemen? When they went around and said, hey, let me buy you a cup of coffee, let me give you a piece of pie, instead of nowadays, you know, everybody freaks out when they see a policeman and stuff. I don't know. I try to help you. I do. I come here and I try to wake you up and say things are changing and you should be aware of it. Things are not right and you should make them right, or at least help me make them right. And get away from this left-right Republican-Democrat thing. Start thinking American. Did you get that? We're going to end this show with start thinking American. I guess I'm looking for real American men to contact me, and real American women for that matter. Please, you know, get in touch with me. And if you don't, practice this in the mirror. Go, you know, when you shut me off, stop what you're doing. You're probably going to go to the bathroom anyway. Look in the mirror when you're in the bathroom and practice those excuses for your children and for your grandchildren, why you did nothing. As fascism grew, you did nothing. As they stole from your parents and your children, you did nothing. As they put poisons in your water and your food, remember aspartame, don't forget it, you did nothing. Why? Because you're a Sharonite. Well, that was my show. Once again, we did a little bit of First Amendment. That's right, I'm practicing my free speech. Find out if I lie. Look up some of the stuff. You know, maybe come on the show. Give me your point of view. Send me some info. Practice those excuses. You're going to need them. Oh, and get ready for inflation like you've never seen before. This is October 2008. I told you this when I made my first show. Go see the first show. It's called Money. It's in the library. Second show I did on the Federal Reserve. I told you this was going to happen. I'm no genius. I don't want it to happen, but you won't do anything to change it, so it's just going to happen. So you can either prepare for it and be ready, or you can be like the sheeple and get ready for a haircut. Maybe you're going to get the dip too. Hey, for all I know, you may, they may even use you as food. So have a great night. Thanks for watching The Real Story. There's something new to think about this week.